Monica Pearson, One-on-One, sponsored by Montlick Injury Attorneys.
The song, This Is How We Do It, is a 90s hit that keeps on giving to its writer and performer, Montell Jordan. It recently is used in a commercial for Uber Eats, but the song title also describes the almost 30-year marriage between Montell and his wife, Kristen. How they do it is what they share with other married couples through their ministry and marriage retreat center. That's where I went one-on-one with them. But first, the origin of the song that makes it all possible.
That song was originally generated from my college days. I was at Pepperdine University, Malibu, California, joined a fraternity, kept outside. When we would go to our parties, all the DJs, every single party, every single time that we would go there, whenever the DJ played the song by Slick Rick, Children's Story, that dun, 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 dun. It did not matter what room it was in, there was an automatic charge or energy that hit the room. And no matter where I was, no matter what demographic, that song itself, that hip hop song always captured the room. And so because I was a singer and a kind of a rap singer at the time, you know, kind of coming up as a college student, I thought to myself, if I ever get in the music business, I'm going to sing over that song. That was a thought. Many years before I ever got to Def Jam or anything, I said, if I ever get in the music business, I'm going to sing over that song right there. And understand, this is a time when a lot of record labels or artists and producers were starting to sample songs from the 80s and stuff like that. And so when my opportunity came, This Is How We Do It, even as we got the record deal and we started working on the album, This Is How We Do It was still the very last song that I recorded for the album because it had to be done right. So we recorded Something for the Honeys, all these different songs of my first album. I had the track, the This Is How We Do It track, but we had to say the right thing on that track. Little known fact about This Is How We Do It. If you go back to a song like Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It Up, if you listen even today, there's a crowd in the song. There's an atmosphere where you can hear people laughing and
it's like a party.
It's a party. Right. It's built into the very foundation of the song. And somehow when we were recording This Is How We Do It, before I recorded vocals, before I recorded anything, I put a bunch of people in the room, put a bunch of alcohol in the room. I turned on the microphone and said, y'all have a party. And literally I have the sound. If you go back and listen to This Is How We Do It, the same way you have this Marvin Gaye atmosphere that's captured into the fabric of the song. This Is How We Do It has a party atmosphere captured into the fabric of the song. And if you listen, you'll hear kind of way in the back, oh, there's people laughing, there's people having a party. And that was a part of constructing a record now that's going on 30-something, almost 30 years.
What's the story?
The story of This Is How We Do It is a kid from South Central LA is documenting street life in a way that NWA was documenting gangster rap. I'm now documenting life in South Central LA, but from the standpoint of a singer as opposed to a rapper. So those words, when I say This Is How We Do It, it's Friday night, I feel all right, the party's here on the West Side. I've just laid out almost like a movie opening up. We're on the West Side. I told you what day of the week it is. Like everybody, to this day, almost 30 years later, on Friday nights, people put that song on because they've been instructed on how a party is. So I said, I reached for my 40, which I don't even know if people drink 40s anymore. I haven't drank in 20-something years. But I said, I reached for my 40 and I turn it up. I designated driver, take the keys to my truck. So what's happening is I am giving you alcohol, I'm giving you a reality, but I'm also giving you how to do it safely, right? So I said, designated driver, take the keys to my truck. Hit the Shaw, Crenshaw Boulevard, because I'm faded. Honeys in the street said money, oh, he made it. That's just a rah-rah. I said, feel so good in my hood tonight. Summertime skirts, the guys in Kanai. That was a shout out to Carl Kanai, which at the time was a black clothing line. I said, all the gangbangers forgot about the drive-by. Okay, I've just said in a song, gangbangers, which somebody would say, well, you're singing about gangbangers. No, I said, I'm recognizing an accurate reality in South Central LA that there are Crips and Bloods, there are gangbangers, but they forgot about the drive-by because they're having a good time. So I'm giving you in the song this dichotomy. I'm giving you this tension of, yeah, there's alcohol, but there's there's designated drivers. Oh, there's gangbangers. Oh, but they're not killing each other. There's all these different elements of street life in South Central LA of how to survive. And that was how I survived. And I think that was what was given in the song.
Montell told me the song has been used in up to 50 commercials, from Uber One to Trainual to a spot with Shaquille O'Neal for the General Car Insurance.
I thought the song at some point gave me identity. I think it helped define me back then. Now, I think I define the song. So from that standpoint, I think that it's an honor to have a song that it still resonates with people. But I think that the beauty of that song now is that it doesn't define who I am. I define who it is.
Coming up, what it took to save their marriage and how they are now helping other couples do the same thing. The song This Is How We Do It was released in 1995, a year after Montell and Kristen married. Well, after you all got married and you came up with this song, This Is How We Do It, that is still a very
I thought you were going to
popular.
sing it. I thought you were going to sing it right there.
Does everybody sing it to you?
Most times they do.
When they see you?
It's an involuntary response. Everybody is just like, yeah, you did this song. They just automatically play. So I was waiting for it, but it's okay.
Sorry. She said, no. I love it.
If they're here,
Yep.
I'm here. We're not singing that. No, it's okay. It's good. That's good.
But when you first got into the record business, you all had been married a year. But they described you by your maiden name and as his manager. And you had to say you were married to the music. That would have caused some friction with me.
Well, it's interesting. So I grew up, my mom was a single mom, and she taught me how to be self-sufficient, independent. You got this. Everything you touch is blessed, but never once did it include with a man. Right. So totally counterculture to what we know as marriage, right? So when the record label steps to me and says, so if they know you're married, they're never going to take you seriously as a manager. And I was like, that goes against every mantra I've ever known. Self-sufficient, independent, you got the. It would go against it. And they said, well, they'll never take you seriously. So if they weren't going to take me seriously, I was like, then that's okay. They don't have to know that I'm married.
Right. And same with me as a recording artist. They're like, nobody wants an unavailable, married, R&B artist.
Yep.
You have to be sexy. You have to be available. They have to want you. The idea was women have to want to be with you. Men have to want to be you. And so from that standpoint, those are the personas that I took on. I don't know if I could be a good husband. I don't know if I could be a good father, but I believe I could be somebody that people want or want to be. And so I took on that persona, and that allowed me to be this single available guy in the forefront, having a manager who's super, having a black woman, female manager, to me was a great way to be able to substantiate myself in the business. But as far as marriage goes, it was a recipe for disaster for us early on because we didn't put it first.
That's right.
So how did you fix it?
Yeah.
God fixed it.
Yeah.
If I'm 100% honest, because the truth is that we signed up for foolishness that we didn't even understand. We didn't even comprehend, because when we first met, the context of when you get married, you're coming under his covering and you're becoming a part of the covering that he offers. But when I rejected that by saying, I'd rather be your manager and I keep my maiden name, I'm rejecting his covering, and essentially was rejecting him. And so for the long time, it played out horrifically, but then we would come to a cataclysmic point and God would redeem what was broken.
Yeah, and I love that you said broken. I love that you said, how did you fix it? And God was the one that fixed it, because you can't fix something that's not broken. And we did realize that what we were functioning in as a marriage was something that was broken. It didn't just need adjusting. It didn't just need, so it was broken. And so from that standpoint, the idea that not only was it broken, but we broke it.
Yeah.
When we could take the responsibility that this thing is broken because we broke it, now the healing part and the fixing part of it, God, I think, can step in and say, now do you recognize you're the one that broke this? Like, Def Jam didn't break it.
Right.
Def Jam played with it.
Yep.
Okay, the music business didn't break it. The music business maybe destroyed parts of it or didn't do the right things with it, but we were the ones that allowed it to be in places for it to get broken.
Absolutely.
And so we also were the ones that allowed it to be in places to get fixed and to get healed. And so...
So did you all go to counseling?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, we went to counseling. We went to a pastor back in the day sent us to a retreat to go away. We learned about triggers. We learned about things that were broken before we got. So we started to learn that not only did we break our marriage, but there were pieces of us that were broken going into marriage. So our marriage I was broken.
Yeah, I was broken.
I was broken going into a marriage, thinking marriage is the thing that heals us.
That's going to fix us.
That fixes us. I didn't have, other than an uncle now who's been married for going on close to probably 50 years, and her grandparents that were married for 62 years. There are not marriages that sustained in my entire family history. Like, I can't point back to a grandfather, a great-grandfather. Like, we have one of the longest standing marriages now in the history of both of our families. And so understanding the brokenness that God had to fix, we inherited that. So it wasn't just like we just grabbed some stuff and just broke it. We inherited some brokenness that it wasn't even their fault. It's just the world is broken. But the desire to be fixed, the desire to be healed is what we want to bring to the table now, not just because God did it for us, but because he did it for us. We believe he'll do it for others.
Well, that's what I love about where we are, that this is going to be a retreat center for couples. How did that idea come about?
So this has been a dream for us for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's because that's where we found peace, and that's where we found restoration in this place. And we learned how to become friends and realize that a lot of times we were fighting each other when we need to be fighting the enemy that's coming against us, right? The things that are coming against our marriage. We learned that same team, like the things that we've learned in our past, these aren't the ways that healthy and successful works. So how can we create new patterns? How can we do new things? So that's what we do here, is create new patterns and create a safe space for people to come and heal and be restored back to healthy.
Yeah, and I think that curating that safe space for people to be able to come is, we found that space. We found that when God is in that space, it's a place that you can be your most vulnerable self. And so because of that, this space here in Georgia, it allows us the opportunity now to do what we've done for 15 years. But normally it's in somebody's basement. Yeah. Or it's, hey, we got an emergency, or, hey, the stories we can tell you that couples have been through are like unbelievable stories, but you're coming to the rescue. It's like you're an ER on wheels that I got to get to this person's living room. I got to get to them. And we've done that, for many years. And now God gave us a space that said, okay, instead of being this mobile marriage ER, let me give you a foundational space where people can actually come and I can do what I do best in a safe and peaceful place.
Kristen is using her newfound talent of interior design to redesign and decorate the home for the couples who will come for counseling. The bedrooms are spacious with private baths, and each is individually decorated. There are also spots for group sessions on the upper level and the lower level. The property is large enough for cabins to be built on it later. That's part of their long-term plan. The living room already is used every Sunday for their virtual Masterpiece Church service. It streams live at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. each Sunday. Montell is an ordained minister now. He and Kristen have as their goal to transform 1 million marriages.
When we return, the story behind their move from California to Georgia, why they say their marriage depended on it. Plus, he made it big on the TV show Living Single. Now he's making Atlanta home. What attracted TC Carson to the ATL?
The Jordans now call Georgia home, and how they got here is a story in itself.
Okay, so that's a funny story too. So in '98, we come to visit Georgia. He was writing with Candy first and they were writing for TLC and for
Producer Shakespeare. We were out here producing and writing songs. And while we're out here, we spent like 3 days and like nothing.
for Destiny's Child. Yeah, facts.
And nothing came out.
Nothing.
Like we're like top writers and nothing is coming out. And finally, one day Shakespeare is like, yo, you want to take a look at, some property? I just bought this new house. I'm not familiar with Georgia. We go over into this, I think it was Lithonia area. Roll up onto this property or whatever. This house is one of those 10,000 square feet houses, 6-car garage. Like it's an amazing property. Sits on like 4 or 5 acres of land. And he's talking to me now. I'm fresh out of California. And he says to me, yeah, a doctor built it. And then he walked away from it. And I think I can get it for about 7, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is definitely a $7 million house. And he's like, no, that's $7 million, $700,000. And I was like, hold on, this house is a $700,000 house? The music videos where the people are up on the balcony with the champagne glasses on the cars, it's that house. And I'm like, that house is, I'm about to buy a house in Burbank for $1.2 million. You telling me this house is?
You can reach out the window and touch your neighbor.
I was like, I gotta see more. And so we start driving around through subdivisions, which I did not familiar because they don't have those in California. Driving through subdivisions, I see a house, 5-bedroom, 4-bath, $250,000, $300,000, $350,000. I was like, oh, this is crazy. She's not gonna believe it. So I'm not even gonna try to explain it. I call her up. I'm like, hey, I need you to get on a plane. Come to Atlanta. This is like 4 o'clock.
Okay, well, we'll make a plan.
Atlanta time, which is like 1 o'clock her time. She's like, yeah, no. I need you to get on a plane now and come to Atlanta right now.
We live in Burbank, right?
I was like, yeah, I need you to get on a plane now. So she finds a babysitter, I think with mom, whatever, catches a red eye because it's now, 4 or 5 o'clock. She gets on a red eye, comes to Atlanta. I pick her up from the airport. She is pissed off. I don't know if I can say it on camera as a pastor, but she's pissed. We go to the hotel, get some rest. We wake up. I hop in the car and I start driving her around these subdivisions. And I drive to a subdivision and I tell her, hey, go check out that mailbox. So she goes and she gets out the mailbox and goes, looks at the house and sees the little thing, $200,000. And then I drive to the next one, to $300,000. Now she's in the car and now she's pointing at us. And so literally after doing that for a couple of hours, we got back to the hotel. She called her mom. She said, Mom, we're moving to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. That's how we got to Atlanta. Well, that's the real estate version of how we got to Atlanta. But the real estate version of how we got to Atlanta was a lot of hidden stuff that I had done in my life and in our marriage in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, had been covered up so deeply that God was going to do something in us and he couldn't do it in Hollywood. He had to, I believe he was going to expose some things, but he couldn't do it in the spotlight, or he wouldn't do it in the spotlight. And so he made it seem as though, well, you're going to move to Atlanta because of real estate and opportunities and because of LaFace and Usher, everybody that's out in Atlanta's the next new whatever. That's why you're coming to Atlanta. But literally it was because God said, I'm going to expose you and I'm going to do it with grace so that when I expose you, it's going to happen in a way that I can protect you, as opposed to Hollywood getting a hold of our lives. And
it would have broke us.
I mean, there's no question. And the thing is, we've been in that story. We've been in that place. Yeah. It just so happened that God was gracious enough to pull us out of Hollywood, put us on the backside of the woods somewhere in Georgia where nobody knew us, no family, no, we didn't know nobody. And so when we went through our journey of marriage, our journey of infidelity, our journey of all of those pieces, God was just gracious enough to shield us where People magazine and all the different tabloids didn't get a hold of it. So at least the narrative of marriage was something that we got a chance to tell, and it wasn't the world telling our story. When you look at the stories, the Kanye's, the Kardashians, like there are stories that we look at and everybody's just like, oh, I can't believe it. Oh, how is it? It's because a lot of times I'm grateful that God graced us enough to allow whatever we were journeying through, he covered us so that the story being told from it was one that's going to give him glory as opposed to us getting the glory for it ourselves.
New city, new career. Montell Jordan tells me how his move to Georgia set him on a new path with God. And later, another transformative move. What led T.C. Carson to lay down roots here in Atlanta?
Montell is comfortable now with being called pastor, but that was not always the case.
I did not want to be no pastor. I wanted to be the NBA ball player. I wanted to be before it was WWE, it was WWF. I wanted to be a wrestler. I wanted to be somebody that seemingly was influential in other people's lives according to what I saw and what I thought was influential. The pastors, as a kid growing up, had this thing about, or people looked at pastors like, oh, that pastor's driving that kind of car, or they taking people's money or this. And that was how I grew up. And so I always was like, I don't want people to look at me, like that. And so it really was a stigma I had to even break into adulthood when people finally said, okay, Montell, you're a pastor. When I took my first job as a worship pastor before even pastoring a church, I took a job as a worship pastor at a mega church. I thought it's a job as a worship leader. I didn't think it was a pastoral position that came along with it. And I got there on this job on day one. There's a license there that says Montell Jordan pastor. I called HR immediately. It was like, hey, somebody made a mistake. You might want to come get this because I am not a pastor. They're like, oh yeah, you're a pastor. I was like, no, not a pastor. I'm a leader. The guy that hired me told I was going to be the worship leader. He was like, no, you're a pastor. Like, nope. And so I fought for months. Like, I am not a pastor. I don't, from a childhood, trauma almost, I don't want that title. I don't want that. And now, man, what an honor that somebody would look and say, that's my pastor. And so I don't take it lightly. I wear it loosely because we are together. We serve God's people. It's not our church. It's not our people. It's not my church. It's not our ministry. These are God's people. And we have been given an honor to help guide and feed and nurture and shepherd and pastor people who need to feel closer or to be reconnected to God.
There's Masterpiece Church, the Masterpiece album, and the book, This Is How We Do It, Making Your Marriage a Masterpiece.
I love the fact that in everything you do, you have the word masterpiece, but it's P-E-A-C-E-Y.
That is Ephesians 2:10. The scripture says, for you are God's workmanship, or you are God's masterpiece. And I think it's the idea that God created something that's completely unique in us when we recognize the value that he placed in us. And because of that, that's just the word, our life scripture that kind of stuck out to us. So workmanship or God's handiwork or God's craftsmanship, like the very work of his hands, is something that is a masterpiece. But then the spelling of that, we believe that of all the things that we've accomplished in our lives, in management and travel, in music, in awards, all those different things, when we sit back, it is the space and the time that we have in our marriage, in our children, in our grandchildren, in our legacy. Those are the things that are sustaining. Those are the things that have moved us from success into a place of significance. And because those things are significant, we believe that when you master peace in your life, then you master, peace.
Now, you shoot your services in this room, and it's virtual right now. Do you ever plan on having a brick and mortar church building?
Only if God says so.
You see me saying no. No.
She's saying only if God said so, and your head is going like this.
The thing is that this is what God has called us to, and he's told us very specifically that this is the pathway for us. So I think the traditional way that it has been done is a brick and mortar place. I think God has always called us to do unusual things. Everything we've ever done has always been a let's reinvent the wheel kind of feel. And so this is very similar, that it hasn't been done where this is how they began. People have online services and that kind of thing, but it is not
where they started in the virtual space. And so I would agree. If God told us to do it, we would do it. Is it what we want to do? No. But here's what I would say is a beautiful thing of that. Obedience is obedience. Obedience isn't necessarily. I know people that would love to have a church. I want to plant a church. I want to pastor. I want to do this. I said, when Jesus says, "Not my will, but your will be done," he's about to be crucified. He doesn't want to be crucified, but he says to his dad, "It's not my will that this would happen, but if it's your will, then I'll do it." That's how I look at ministry every single day.
We can be the lighthouse that says, if they can do it, it's a possibility that I can do it. So we're just the hope to get you to the other side of the mountain.
Yep.
So I guess that's the case of, this is how we do it.
I know. I knew it was in there. I said, I'm a pastor. I knew it was in there. I didn't know when it was coming. I didn't know if I was going to say it, but thank you. Jesus.
I knew you wanted
I knew it was
so
in
I gave
there.
it to you.
That's what pastors do. They pull the good stuff out of you. They get it out.
To the end. I knew you wanted it, so I did not want to disappoint.
My next guest was also a 90s sensation in his role as Kyle Barker on the TV series Living Single. Acting is just one of the talents of Terrence T.C. Carson. He's also a dancer, a singer, and now a jazz club owner in Atlanta on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, near Washington High School and the Atlanta University Center. That's where we went one-on-one.
The building is being renovated, and T.C. Carson's dream of a jazz club is close to becoming a reality.
Why are you opening up a jazz club near the AU campus in Atlanta?
Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, I want someplace where I can go. And people my age don't have a whole lot of places where you can go and just relax and hear good music and have a good cocktail and actually have a conversation. And so that's what we're building here. This building, we want it to be a community center. So we got plans for a cafe on the other end where you can get fresh to cook and fresh fish and meats. We're talking about a supper club upstairs where we can have theater and poetry, all of that. So to be a place in the community where we can gather and not just cross generations. We're hoping to have some kind of culinary program with Washington High School over here so we can start teaching and funneling kids that want to cook into jobs and stuff where they can cook and get that kind of experience. So it really is about how we can serve the community with this building.
But why Atlanta? Because you travel literally all over the world.
Why not?
But what's so special about Atlanta that you wanted to be here versus in your hometown of Chicago?
Well, okay, let me tell you how I got here. And so my mom moved to Ackworth. And she lived out in Ackworth for about 10, 12 years before she passed. And I came here and I ushered her through her transition. And after that, I left and I wasn't trying to come back to Atlanta at all because the memories of because people don't teach you how to watch somebody make their transition. Nobody tells you what that is. You have to experience it.
Just been through it with my mother-in-law and went through it with my mother 6 years ago.
See, so you understand.
I understand.
You understand. And I got back to LA and everything I thought wasn't anymore. So relationship, all my work dried up. I lost my house. Everything within a year after she passed, everything tanked. And I was in a friend of mine's house. I was staying in his guest room. And I was on the floor stretching because the only thing I had was my workout. Every day I would get up and stretch and go work out. And I was on the floor stretching and I was like, okay, you gotta, what do I need to do? What do I just tell me what to do? So go to Atlanta. I don't want to go to Atlanta. I just came from Atlanta. I want to go to Atlanta. 5 minutes later, go to Atlanta. So I don't want to go back to Atlanta. There's got to be something. And if I go to Atlanta, fine, I'll go. 2 days later, I got a job. A job that paid me enough money to make the move. I got here and got another job that gave me enough money going back and forth to Canada so I could get my own place. So reluctantly, coming here was the best thing I could have done. And again, it shows that if you listen, you'll understand what you're supposed to do. And so that's what brought me here. But once I got here, I realized that there's so much opportunity for us here. But we're kind of not taking care of each other.
Coming up, how T.C. Carson is transforming a local community with his love of the arts and the smooth sound of jazz. T.C. credits his mother with his love for the arts. She worked as a seamstress and later a nurse's aide while they lived in the LeClaire Public Housing Project in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois.
It wasn't what people think about when they think about projects. They think about high-rise living. And these were the low-risers. And it was more like a townhouse. We had upstairs, downstairs. There were 2 bedrooms. We were on the end, so I had a yard. They had contests. We had a clubhouse. They had beautiful lawn contests. They built us a pool. So we had a pool in the summertime. So it was really, aside from the occasional gang violence and guns and that kind of thing, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like living in Cabrini Green. It wasn't like that at all.
So how did Miss Annie keep you from becoming a part of that other life?
She showed me that there was a lot of other things available. Every summer when she got her vacation, we would vacation in the city. And we would get on the train every morning and go down and do something different every day. We went on architectural tours. We went to the museum. We went to the theater. We went to the ballet. She showed me that there was, it's gonna get me. She showed me that there was something else. And she tried to show all of us. She would take all of us when she could, because I had cousins that lived out there as well. And so when she could, she would take us all, just so they could see as well.
So you talk about really realizing your career was going to be in music in the 4th grade. But I have a feeling that this music thing started before the 4th grade. Now tell the truth and shame the devil.
Well, if Miss Annie was here, she would tell you that I've always been a performer, even as a little kid. Like my uncles would say, get up and do that James Brown thing, boy. And I would get up and do whatever, and they would fall out. So I guess I have been, it's been in my blood for a long time.
And on your website, you describe yourself as singer, actor, dancer. Mm-hmm. Why is the singing more important to you than the other two?
Singing is where I have the most control over what I want to give you. Acting, theater, everybody. Well, theater is a little like that as well, because once the director goes away, then the show is the show. But when you talk about film and television, you can give all kinds of takes and think it's your best one, and then you look and they pick the one that was the worst because the lighting was right or the sound was right or all these other things were okay. So somebody else has a say over what your performance is. When I'm on stage singing, I do what I want to do.
So you like being in control?
I'm a Scorpio. You know we do. You know we do.
When you went to college, you said your mom took you to see architecture and all of that. You majored in architecture and interior design.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
That was my fallback job. That was the thing that I figured, okay, you can get a degree in that. I didn't think to get a degree in music or theater because I didn't think I would make money in that area. But I thought, well, architecture and interior design, I can make money there, and something creative I like to do. So we'll do that.
So what lessons did you learn from learning about architecture that is synonymous with what you do now?
The design element for theater and for stage work, when I think about who I am and what I do as a performer, it's more theater-based than club-based. It's great to sing in a jazz club, but I like a theater space where I get lighting and I get, effects, and I can really tell stories. That's the space I think I work best in. And so I think the design part helps me craft what that looks like. Just like this space, I'm the designer for this space. And I have done everything from sewing cushions to painting bars and staining chairs and all of that.
And what about this gorgeous mural behind us?
This is a friend of mine, Ralph Glenmore Art. And I asked him to create something that would be a moment in time for the space and something that would reflect a little bit of Atlanta history. So you see C.T. Vivian and you see John Lewis over here, but you also have Quincy Jones, you got Sarah, you got Miles and Dizzy, and just the journey from past to future is what this represents. And he's a wonderful artist. I'm just so happy about it. The colors, the vibrancy, I think it does a really good job of letting you know what this space is going to be about. I'm a firm believer that you can make your money and still be of service to your community. And that's what we're working to do with this space. And we have another space down the street on Brawley called St. Mark's. And it's an outdoor venue. It's going to be a 250-seat outdoor venue inside an old church. Oh. And it's beautiful. The acoustics are amazing. We've got historic designation, the symphony is signed on, and it's really moving forward quickly. So it's going to be a great addition to the neighborhood.
When we return, TC gives us that jazz feel with contemporary music.
Your voice is one of those that is amazing to me because you can go from bass all the way up to falsetto, and it's a true falsetto. Did you take voice lessons?
I have studied, I did study some in college. It's trial and error for me. A lot of it is just experimentation and figuring out, what I can do, what it does do. And then can you do that on a regular basis? So it's just like a one-time thing. Some things are just a one-time thing. You got to know the difference, But singing is fun to me. I used to be concerned with trying to sound like what people expected me to sound like and what they thought, reading different comments and that kind of thing. And then as you get older, you decide that, that doesn't mean too much or nothing. And I'm just going to do what I do. And if you like it, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. Stay off my page. If you don't like it, I had a moment like that. Somebody was like, I don't like him. And I was like, so check it out. I understand that what I do may not be for everybody. And that's okay. And if you don't like it, it's really okay. You don't have to watch it. But you did watch it, didn't you? Okay. Okay. Moving on.
Now that voice of yours also, because you were just here with the comic.
The Comic-Con, yeah.
The Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. And everybody was going crazy over you because you're the voice of Kratos.
Yes.
How did you get into that? And it seems like it's something you really enjoy better than anything other than singing.
I do, because you don't have to, it's not about anything other than what it sounds like. So you don't have to get dressed up. There's no hair, there's no makeup, there's no lights, there's no cameras. I can show up in my jeans and my hoodie and just, give the sound. And the musical part of who I am helps me with that part, because you can hear, I can hear the different rise and falls that they're asking me to do. And I started it by taking a class. I took a class. Somebody said, you should do voiceovers. I was like, yeah. So I took a class, and the class provided me a demo tape at the end. Shot the tape, got an agent, and been working ever since.
TC is full of ideas and is working on a cooking show called Uncle G Daddy's Kitchen.
Uncle G Daddy is a late night show with cooking. So it's a late night talk show with cooking.
Oh, I love it.
And the goal was to be able to provide edutainment. I don't think late night is curated for us. There's nothing that is beneficial for our community. So what I wanted to do was provide a space where we could talk, and we always talk around food. We always talk in the kitchen. And so to have guests on and performances on and people on that we don't normally get to see. And so we're shopping this now, and hopefully this year we'll be able to get it on.
So now that you're in this phase of your life where you're opening a jazz club, you're going to have a restaurant, you're going to be doing all of that, what is there left for TC to attain?
Oh my goodness, there's so much stuff to do. Again, I'm looking for Uncle G Daddy to open up doors into my community so I can be more of service. I still have not done my theater piece that I want to do. So we're working, I want to do a curated piece for the theater. So I'm working on that this year. We're working on an album this year.
What's the topic? I mean, what's the curated piece?
I'm not sure yet. I want to talk to OK Cello about collaborating for a journey. I really want to create a journey. And that's the thing about when people come and see me, I realize I'm not a trick person. I don't riff and run and do, but I really work to tell stories with the music. And that's what I'm hoping people get when they come and see me. They can actually take the journey and have get away from what they have normally and just take this journey and be happy.
What comes in your head when you feel like you need to sing and lift your spirits?
Oh, it's usually just random scatting and just however I'm feeling at the time.
How'd you learn to do it?
Trial and error. It really is about mimicking an instrument. So, when you hear people scat, a lot of times they'll scat to a horn.
Yes.
Or it'll be a guitar, or sometimes a bass. Mine is more about a conversation, so I kind of go from different instruments in the process. So it depends on what I'm hearing as we're playing the music, which is why I love to record with people as opposed to recording separate. To me, when you're recording separate, you're doing your own little monologue, and then somebody puts a monologue on top of your monologue. But when you record together, we're all having a conversation. And it really is about the conversation. So scatting to me is about relaying a conversation to my audience without the words.
Now, you always say that the kind of jazz you do, yes, you do the traditional, but you also like to take contemporary music and give it a jazz flavor. I heard you, listen to you singing Ed Sheeran's song. And it's had a totally different sound and feel. Sexier, actually.
All right, come on now. Watch yourself.
So, why take contemporary music and give it a jazz feel?
We've been doing that. When you think about the jazz era back in the day, they always took contemporary music and quote, quote, jazzified it. So why not do it with, stuff today?
Okay, you know what I'm going to ask. I want to hear you sing.
I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. And though my heart is falling true, I'm in love with your body. Last night you were in my room, and now my bedsheets smelling like you. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with the shape of I'm in love with the shape of I'm in love with the shape of I am in love with the shape of you. You.
Made my day.
Oh, thank you.
TC opens his club Rebel this fall, but will have outdoor events at St. Mark's sometime this summer. Thanks for watching. Good night.